In a low stance defensively, matched up with Mitchell. Fires up a three. Kelsey!
The Fever's showdown with the Sun wasn't just another game. It was a fork-in-the-road moment. In a season defined by setback after setback, this matchup carried a weight far beyond the standings. Indiana was still in the playoff hunt, but back-to-back losses to the Wings and Mystics, both teams sitting below them, had erased their margin for error. And as the first half played out, it felt like the
So it was over. The
story was already written. The offense stalled. Connecticut ran wild. Possession by possession, the lead ballooned. The scoreboard told a cruel truth. Indiana looked cooked. Fans at home felt it. The bench wore it. Every miss, every turnover chipped away at hope. Even with 9 games still left after this one, you could feel the season slipping away in real time. Step back 3? Short. Mitchell, 0 for 4. Run out the other way. Rivers explodes to the rim. The crowd roars. But basketball has a funny way of turning despair into drama. And on this night, the Fever, and Kelsey Mitchell in particular, delivered a comeback for the record books. When we look back a month from now, this half might not just be the turning point of the Fever's season, it might be the turning point for Caitlin Clark's future as well. And to set the stage for what unfolded, I have to play you this clip.
This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win.
This legendary Harm Edwards line has lived on for decades. You play to win the game. Simple. Sharp. No excuses. No matter the score, no matter the injuries, no matter how bad it looks, you fight to win. And I bring this up because on this night, the Fever had every reason to finally throw in the towel. Once again, it felt like someone had a voodoo doll with Indiana's name on it. Another key injury. This time, Sophie Cunningham. Midway through the game, she went down in obvious pain. Stayed on the floor for what felt like forever before trainers rushed in. When they helped her off, she couldn't put weight on the leg. And the look on her face told the story. This wasn't just a knock. This was serious. The timing? Brutal. Already without Caitlin Clark. Already without Sydney Coulson. Already without Ari McDonald. And now Sophie, one of their emotional leaders and floor spacers, gone. You could feel the frustration boiling over. This didn't feel like bad luck anymore. It felt cruel. A season where every time Indiana built momentum, something else was ripped away. And Sophie's family? They'd had enough. They went straight to social media, blasting the WNBA for poor officiating and for failing to protect its players.
We got Sophie's sister Lindsay and her mom Paula. At WNBA, maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game, protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie Cunningham. And Sophie's mother, Paula. Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing mean and plays out of control.
And for a team that had already lost Sydney Coulson, Ari McDonald, and of course, Caitlin Clark, this felt like the last straw. The Fever weren't just losing, they were getting embarrassed. Down 21 to the worst team in the league in what was supposed to be a must-win game. Nothing clicked. The offense was flat. The defense looked rattled. Even the bench sat lifeless, heads down. You could feel it through the screen. Fever Nation knew it. The players knew it. This didn't just look like a loss. It looked like a season slipping away.
One of your starters goes down, one of your leaders goes down. And after that, it did feel like the morale of the team was down for the first half, and they went into halftime being down 20 points. And I thought, I was on live, you guys heard it from me, I was like, okay, this game's done. Like, they just can't get out of it. The morale of the team is done. Seeing Sophie go down, like, maybe this team just doesn't have any fight left in them. And I was actually ready to give them a pass as well. I was like, you know what? It's been a hard season. And at some point, you might just have to throw in the towel and be like, you know what? We will get after it next season. It
felt like the season had already slipped away, and everyone had quietly drifted into the acceptance stage of grief. A writ-off. 9 games still hung on the calendar, yet hope had already vanished. But then, something stirred. The Fever breathed again. Not with fireworks, but with a whisper, a flicker in the dark. A Kelsey Mitchell free throw, then a soft floater, then a 3. Low stance on defense, squared with Mitchell. She pulls, fires a 3. Kelsey Mitchell. And suddenly, everything changed. The same shots that rattled out earlier began to fall. By the 5:37 mark, the 21-point hole was trimmed to 14. By the close of the third, the deficit was only 11. For the first time all night, the building came alive. Momentum had shifted. Boston backing down Hartley. Aaliyah Boston. Perfect post position. The Suns still held the lead, but the Fever had cracked open the door, and Kelsey Mitchell was ready to tear it wide.
Essentially, I thought, well, I wasted my day watching this game and going live for it. Then cue the end of the third quarter. The momentum shifted and the Fever started chipping away at this enormous lead that the Connecticut Sun had on them. For the majority of the game, I would say that the lead was around 15, 16 points, and they got it down to 8 points. And Kelsey Mitchell started.
With the season hanging by a thread, Kelsey Mitchell caught fire. 8:38 on the clock. Mitchell buries a 3. Next trip down. She drives hard, draws contact, sinks her free throws. Suddenly, the Suns' double-digit cushion was vanishing. Then, like a spark spreading through dry grass, Lexi Hull joined in. Wide open in the corner, she let it fly and nailed it. After weeks of shooting struggles, she found the perfect moment to deliver. Just like that, the Fever were alive. Howard picked up a quick 2 fouls. The crowd roared. The bench leapt to its feet. Every possession felt heavy now. Odyssey Sims turned into a one-woman wrecking crew, fearless drives, trips to the line, piling up 9 free throws off pure willpower. Brianna Turner, barely in the rotation, checked in and fought with raw grit, finishing +10 without scoring a single point. By the final minute of regulation, Kelsey Mitchell had willed Indiana all the way back. The scoreboard read 84-84. Tie game. The impossible was suddenly real. Overtime. Stephanie White punched the air on the sideline. The Fever bench roared like the win was already theirs. The comeback was alive. And in overtime, Indiana owned it. 20 seconds in, Mitchell sliced to the rim for a layup. A minute later, a 3. Next possession, another one. Back-to-back daggers. Mitchell wasn't just hot. She was volcanic. The Sun unraveled. Shots that once dropped now rimmed out. Hesitant passes, tight shoulders. Indiana smelled blood. Then came the dagger. Bree Turner drove the lane, drew the defense, kicked to the corner. Lexi Hull rose, released, buried it. Swish. Game over. Fever up for good. Final score, 99-93. The largest comeback in franchise history.
As a matter of fact, this was the largest comeback in Indiana Fever franchise history. And it was funny because there were so many people cheering in Connecticut for the Indiana Fever when all this was happening. There was actually just so many Fever fans in Connecticut. As a matter of fact, when Marina Mabry went on the court in the beginning of the game, they booed her. Imagine getting booed.
Yes, this was against the worst team in the league. Yes, it was a matchup Indiana absolutely had to win. But the way they pulled it off, that's what made it unforgettable. Pushing through yet another key injury, crawling out of a 21-point hole, doing it with a crowd that traveled, roared, and drowned out the Sun's own fans. This wasn't just a victory. It was survival. It was belief. It was something deeper. And it was pure team grit. Kelsey Mitchell, 38 points, 34 in the second half. An absolute masterpiece. She opened with just 4 in the first, then single-handedly rewrote the story. That's the very definition of refusing to fold. Lexi Hull, 8 points, 7 rebounds, clutch threes that snapped her slump at the moment it mattered most. Every hustle play counted, and she answered them all. Odyssey Sims, fearless drives, 9 free throws, relentless pressure. She played like someone who refused to watch the season end. Brianna Turner, no flashy stats, but plus-minus doesn't lie. +10 in a game decided by 6. She steadied the defense when the Fever needed her most. Aaliyah Boston, 14 points, 13 boards, the anchor in the paint, the foundation you build around. This was the kind of win that hardens a locker room, the kind that flips momentum. And you could see it because after the game, it wasn't just numbers on a sheet. It lived in the reactions. Injured teammates tweeting pride in real time, glowing at what their squad had pulled off. Inside the locker room, emotion poured everywhere. Relief, joy, pride. This wasn't just about a single night. It was about proving they could survive the storm and still come out swinging.
I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. Yeah. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. Your never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes, and we will never be counted out, because that is worth gold. That is worth gold. Kels, goddamn, baby. Put us on your...
Inside the locker room, you could see it etched on every face. This one mattered. It wasn't just celebration. It was relief. It was pride. It was belief spilling out of a team beaten down all season long. This game may go down as the most important of the Fever's year. Yes, there are still games ahead. And yes, plenty can happen, for better or worse. But everyone knew losing this one would have been crushing. Think about it, a third straight loss to the league's worst team, with the Lynx looming 3 times in the final stretch, plus one of the toughest closing slates in the WNBA. If they had let this slip, their season was likely finished, and everyone felt it.
To see Sophie Cunningham go down with injury amid all the other injuries that the Fever have suffered, it really felt like it was over. I mean, before the game, Stephanie White said she hopes Caitlin Clark is back at some point in the regular season. Then you see Sophie come down and you see them getting blown out by the sun, and you kind of think, what?
Because here's the truth. There's no way the Fever send Caitlin Clark back onto the floor if the playoff race is gone. No team risks their franchise star for games that don't matter. And before this one even began, when Stephanie White was pressed about Clark's status, she didn't exactly hand fans much hope. The tone wasn't "she's close." It was cautious. It was hesitant. It felt like her return was still hanging in doubt, a question mark that lingered over everything.
Now that I'm watching it, instead of reading what she had to say, I'm still on my theory that I don't believe Caitlin Clark come back. For her to say she's hopeful that she's going to come back, that's the game plan. She didn't seem or look very confident in stating that Caitlin was going to come back. This is a very interesting conversation she's having with
Caitlin Clark still isn't practicing full speed with the team. And let's be honest, there's no way she gets tossed back into the fire just to rescue a sinking season. Not with her long-term future on the line. But that doesn't mean the door is shut. If she's back in full practices soon, a playoff return is absolutely possible. And that's exactly why this win mattered so much. It keeps the Fever alive in the race. It gives Caitlin the chance to return when the stage is biggest. And once you reach the postseason, anything can happen.
And maybe you guys don't think that today, quote unquote, 1,000,000% for sure saved the Fever season. I think it did. I think it did. I think it was huge for the season. I think the Indiana Fever, unless the Sparks come back in this game, are probably going to make the playoffs. And is there an argument to be made that it's actually better for the Fever to have lost this game and to not make the playoffs? Sure. But you know what, as a sports fan, fuck losing. Fuck tanking. I want to see the Indiana Fever play in the playoffs because I think Caitlin Clark's going to be healthy for the playoffs. I think Caitlin Clark is going to be healthy for the playoffs. I think that spell, those last 3 games, where I don't think anyone's going to play in that last Lynx game unless it's needed. I think that Mystics and Sky game back-to-back, I think she's going to become, even if she's a little bit iffy, no matter what, if they're going to make the playoffs, I think she's coming back for those 2 games. And then with Caitlin Clark there, even a 75% Caitlin Clark, people are saying, oh, Caitlin Clark, she's going to get surgery in the offseason. People are like, oh, she needs surgery in the offseason. If she needs surgery in the offseason, go and play. Go and play in the playoffs. Because with Kelsey Mitchell, the way she can score, you have a puncher's chance. You always have a puncher's chance.
This Fever team has already shown they can stand toe-to-toe with the best. They've taken down the Lynx, the Liberty, the Mercury, and the Dream. But let's be real, a healthy, or even mostly healthy, Caitlin Clark lifts them to an entirely different level. And if you've followed her journey, you already know one thing for certain. Caitlin doesn't just show up in big moments. She owns them. That's probably why you clicked on this video, because Caitlin Clark in big games is Kentimas basketball. So here's the truth, Fever Nation. There's hope, and that hope doesn't exist without this comeback. Yes, it came against one of the league's bottom teams. But when your season's hanging on the edge, it's not about who you beat. It's about finding a way to survive. Because as Herm Edwards once said, you play to win the game. And the Indiana Fever, down 21, battered, bruised, with every reason to fold, refused. They fought, they believed, and they won. And suddenly, everything feels possible again. If you're still here, drop a goat in the comments, because that's exactly what you are for sticking with me. Thanks for watching.